Autumn, 865 AD, the coast of East Anglia, England. Hundreds of Viking longships cut through grey water, sails billowing, dragon heads carved into their prows. On board, 3,000 Norse warriors sharpen axes and swords, preparing for the largest invasion England has ever seen. This is the great Heathen army, led by the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan Ragnarsson, and Ubba. They've come to conquer, to carve kingdoms from Anglo-Saxon land, to make England bleed. Over the next 14 years, they'll capture York, kill kings, and nearly erase Christianity from the British Isles. The Anglo-Saxons have no defense against this. But let's change one thing. Cutting through those same waters, radar arrays spinning, missile batteries armed, is something the Vikings couldn't comprehend if they stared at it for 1,000 years. A modern U.S. Navy carrier strike group, 7 warships, 90 aircraft, and 7,500 sailors and Marines from 1,200 years in the future. So what happens when the most powerful naval force ever assembled faces the most famous Viking invasion in history? Can a carrier group stop an army built for land warfare? Or do longships and battle axes find a way to survive against guided missiles and jet fighters? So what exactly just materialized off the English coast? Not just one ship, an entire carrier strike group, the most concentrated projection of military power in human history. At the center, one Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, 1,092 feet long, displacing over 100,000 tons. It's a floating city with a population of 5,000, powered by 2 nuclear reactors that won't need refueling for 25 years. It carries 60 to 90 aircraft, FA-18 Super Hornets that fly at Mach 1.8, E-2D Hawkeyes for airborne radar surveillance, MH-60 Seahawk helicopters for anti-submarine warfare and troop transport, and EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare. Every single one of these aircraft is faster, more lethal, and more sophisticated than anything that will exist for the next millennium. Escorting the carrier are 2 Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruisers. Each one displaces 9,800 tons, bristles with 122 vertical launch cells loaded with Tomahawk cruise missiles and SM-2 surface-to-air missiles, and carries the Aegis Combat System, a radar and fire control network that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously and engage threats from 200 miles away. 2 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers provide additional firepower and air defense, each armed with their own complement of missiles, torpedoes, and a 5-inch Mark 45 naval gun capable of precision fire support from 15 miles offshore. 1 Virginia-class attack submarine prowls beneath the surface, silent, invisible, armed with Tomahawk missiles and Mark 48 torpedoes, and keeping the whole group supplied is 1 fleet replenishment ship, though in 865 AD, resupply is going to be the least of their problems. Combined firepower, over 500 Tomahawk missiles, each with a 1,000-pound warhead and a 1,000-mile range, precision guided to within 10 feet of their target. Dozens of SM-2 missiles for air defense that can intercept threats moving at supersonic speeds. 5-inch naval guns that can fire GPS-guided rounds 15 miles inland with pinpoint accuracy. And that's before the air wing launches. This strike group can engage targets across 500 miles in every direction simultaneously while the crew eats breakfast and watches movies in the carrier's mess hall. In 865 AD, this isn't a military force. It's a natural disaster with a command structure. But here's the catch. Carrier strike groups are designed to dominate oceans, project air power, and support ground invasions. They're not designed to conquer territory by themselves. The entire group has maybe 2,200 Marines embarked across the ships, trained for amphibious assault and rapid deployment.
That's a formidable force in 2025. Against 3,000 Viking warriors who've spent their entire lives fighting, raiding, and conquering, it's not enough to hold England. The strike group can destroy the Viking fleet in an afternoon, but can it stop an army that's already on land, dispersed across marshes and forests, fighting a guerrilla war against Anglo-Saxon kingdoms? That's a very different question. Now let's look at what they're facing. The Great Heathen Army isn't a raiding party, it's an invasion force, the largest concentration of Viking warriors ever assembled in one place. Estimates range from 2,000 to 5,000 fighters, though some chroniclers claim more. These are professional warriors from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. They've raided Ireland, Francia, and the Mediterranean. They know how to fight in formation, how to siege fortified towns, and how to live off hostile land for years. Their longships are technological marvels for 865. Shallow draft, fast, maneuverable, they can sail up rivers deep into England's interior, strike a monastery, and be gone before defenders arrive. Each ship carries 30 to 60 warriors, plus crew. The Great Heathen Army fleet likely numbers between 50 and 100 longships, maybe more. They're armed with iron axes, swords, spears, and round wooden shields reinforced with iron. Their armor is chainmail for the wealthy, leather and padded cloth for everyone else. They fight in shield walls, tight formations where overlapping shields create a mobile fortress, and they're very, very good at it. Their strategy is simple. Land on the English coast, seize a fortified position, usually a town or monastery, then use it as a base to raid outward, gathering food, slaves, and loot. When the local king gathers an army to fight them, the Vikings either crush them in open battle or fade into the marshes and forests, reappearing somewhere else. They don't need to defeat every Anglo-Saxon army. They just need to survive long enough to carve out territory and establish their own kingdoms. In the real timeline, they succeeded. Over 14 years, they conquered Northumbria, East Anglia, and Mercia. Only Wessex, under Alfred the Great, held out. But that's without a carrier strike group showing up uninvited. The strike group detects the Viking fleet before the first longship even sees the English coast. E-2D Hawkeyes, airborne radar planes, fly at 25,000 feet with radar that can track small boats at 300 miles. The Combat Information Center aboard the carrier lights up. Over 80 contacts, wooden vessels moving in formation at about 8 knots toward the East Anglian shore. No threat assessment is possible because the concept of threat doesn't apply. These boats don't have missiles, they don't have torpedoes, they don't even have gunpowder. The strike group commander has about 6 different ways to sink every longship in the next 10 minutes without a single Viking ever knowing they're under attack. Option 1. Tomahawk missiles. Overkill but effective. Each missile costs $1.4 million. Using them on wooden boats is like swatting flies with a sledgehammer, but it would work. Option 2. Naval gunfire. The destroyers and cruisers close to 10 miles offshore and open up with their 5-inch guns. High explosive rounds, 1 per longship. Sink them all in 15 minutes. Option 3, and this is the one they choose, the air wing. 12 FA-18 Super Hornets launch from the carrier, loaded not with precision munitions, but with 20mm M61 Vulcan cannons, 6,000 rounds per minute of pure devastation. At 8 a.m., the Vikings are 20 miles from shore, rowing hard, chanting war songs, completely unaware. Then comes a sound they have no reference for, a roar, building from nothing to deafening in seconds. 12 jets scream overhead at 400 miles per hour, low enough that the displaced air rocks the longships in the water. Warriors look up, shielding their eyes, trying to understand what they're seeing. The jets bank, turn, and come back.
The lead Super Hornet lines up on the first longship, drops to 500 feet, and opens fire. The 20mm cannon fires for 2 seconds, 200 rounds. The longship doesn't sink, it disintegrates. The wooden hull explodes into splinters. Bodies are thrown into the water. The dragon head prow, carved by hand, polished, blessed by priests, spins through the air and crashes into the sea 100 feet away. The jet pulls up and moves to the next target. The second longship tries to turn, as if changing direction will help. The cannon fires. Same result. Wood, water, chaos. By the time the third longship is hit, the formation is scattering. Vikings are diving overboard, abandoning ships, swimming for shore. Some try to fight back. Archers loose arrows into the sky. The arrows rise maybe 200 feet. The jets are 1,000. It's not a battle. It's a massacre. Within 20 minutes, 60 longships are sunk or burning. The remaining 20 turn and flee north, rowing desperately, trying to reach the coast before the jets make another pass. Some make it, most don't. By 9 a.m., the Great Heathen Army's fleet is destroyed. Over half their warriors are dead or drowning. The survivors, maybe 1,500 men, crawl onto the beach at scattered points along the coast, soaked, exhausted, and traumatized. They've just watched their entire invasion fleet annihilated by something they can't explain. Some call it Thor's wrath. Others think the English have summoned demons. Nobody has the correct answer, because the correct answer is impossible. But the Vikings don't surrender. They regroup. Ivar the Boneless, brilliant tactician that he is, realizes immediately that staying near the coast is suicide. Whatever attacked them came from the sea, so they move inland, fast. They march through forests, avoid open ground, and seize a fortified Saxon town 30 miles from the coast. They take hostages, fortify the walls, and dig in. The carrier strike group can see them on satellite imagery. Wait, no satellites in 865. Scratch that. The strike group sends reconnaissance drones, small quadcopters that the Vikings can't see or hear, hovering at 2,000 feet, filming everything. The commanders watch live video of Vikings building defensive positions, tending to wounded, arguing over what to do next. The strike group could end this right now. Tomahawk missiles, precision strikes on the town, level it in minutes. But there's a problem. Civilians. The town has Anglo-Saxon residents, maybe 500 people, held hostage by the Vikings. The rules of engagement, even in 865 AD, don't allow for leveling a town full of civilians just to kill the enemy. So the strike group adapts. They deploy the Marines. 200 Marines, transported by MH-60 Seahawk helicopters, land 5 miles from the town at dawn. They're equipped with M4 rifles, night vision, body armor, and grenades. The plan: infiltrate the town, neutralize Viking leadership, extract the civilians, and let the Anglo-Saxons mop up the rest. It's a solid plan. It works in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. But those insurgents didn't fight in shield walls. At 5 a.m., the Marines approach the town's walls. They use breaching charges to blow open a gate, toss flashbangs inside, and move in. The Vikings, sleeping in shifts, wake to explosions and blinding light. Half of them think the gods have come to judge them. The other half grab weapons and charge. The Marines open fire, suppressed M4s cutting down warriors at 100 yards. The Vikings don't understand guns, but they understand death. They retreat, regroup, and form a shield wall in the town square. This is where modern tactics hit ancient warfare and something unexpected happens. The Marines have superior firepower, better training, night vision that turns darkness into an advantage. But they're outnumbered 7-1, fighting in close quarters, and the Vikings are not panicking.
They're advancing, shields locked, moving forward in tight formation, absorbing bullets into wood and iron, protecting the men behind. The Marines fall back, call in air support. An FA-18 makes a low pass, cannon fire ripping through the Viking formation. But it's danger close. Civilians are running in every direction, and the pilot has to pull off. The Marines extract, taking casualties, Vikings pursuing them to the edge of town before stopping. The strike group just learned something important. Air power and naval gunfire can destroy ships and strike fixed positions. But against a dispersed, adaptive land army fighting in close terrain, it's not a guaranteed win. Over the next 2 weeks, the dynamic shifts. The Vikings, down to 1,200 warriors, abandon the town and splinter into smaller raiding parties. They avoid open ground, move at night, and strike isolated villages. The carrier group tracks them with drones, hits them with precision Hellfire missiles when they cluster. But the Vikings learn. They spread out, they hide in forests, they only gather when necessary, and disperse immediately. The strike group is burning through ordnance, flying constant patrols, and the Vikings are still there, still raiding, still surviving. Meanwhile, the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms are watching all of this in confusion. Strange metal birds that spit fire, thunder weapons that kill from miles away, warriors in strange armor who appear and disappear. Some Saxons think the strike group is divine intervention. Others think it's sorcery. Either way, they're not equipped to capitalize on it. The Vikings are weakened, but so are the Saxons, and the strike group can't fight England's war for them forever. But let's be honest about what the carrier strike group actually accomplishes. They destroy the Viking fleet, completely. 60 longships, hundreds of warriors, gone in 20 minutes. That alone cripples the invasion. The great Heathen army's mobility, their ability to strike quickly and retreat to ships, is eliminated. They're stranded in England with no way home, no reinforcements, and no resupply from Scandinavia. That's a strategic catastrophe. The psychological impact is devastating. Vikings are fearless warriors, but they've just been attacked by something beyond their comprehension. Morale shatters. Some warriors desert, fleeing north to Scotland. Others argue for abandoning the invasion entirely. Leadership fractures. Ivar the Boneless tries to hold the army together, but it's not the same force that landed in 865. They're survivors of a disaster, not conquerors. The strike group also buys the Anglo-Saxon kingdom's time. In the real timeline, the great Heathen army conquers East Anglia within a year. With the fleet destroyed and the army reduced by half, that timetable breaks. The Saxons, disorganized as they are, manage to field armies, hold fortified positions, and push back. The Vikings still win battles. They're too skilled to collapse completely, but they can't sustain the momentum. By 867, instead of controlling half of England, they control maybe 2 counties and a fortified town. The strike group doesn't defeat them militarily, but it disrupts them enough that the Saxons, barely holding on in the real timeline, now have a fighting chance. But here's the ultimate limitation. The carrier strike group can't stay. They have fuel for the ships, nuclear reactors handle that. They have food for a few months if they ration. But ordnance? They're burning through missiles, cannon rounds, and Hellfire munitions faster than any deployment in modern history. After 2 months of operations, they're down to 30% of their original loadout, and they can't resupply. There's no Allied port in 865 AD, no logistics train, no Amazon Prime delivering Tomahawk missiles to medieval England. The strike group is a closed system, and the clock is ticking. Eventually, they'll have to make a choice: commit everything they have left to one final, decisive strike, or withdraw and let history play out. Either way, they can't stay forever. They're time travelers, not colonists. So, could a modern carrier strike group defeat the Viking Great Heathen army? Yes and no. They can destroy the fleet, absolutely. They can kill hundreds of warriors in minutes, without question. But can they conquer and hold territory? Can they fight a prolonged counterinsurgency against 1,200 Vikings who've adapted to hide in forests and strike at night? Can they do it without air-to-ground munitions, without resupply, and without the ability to distinguish Viking warriors from Saxon civilians in close quarters? That's much harder. The strike group wins every engagement at sea and in open terrain. But on land, in the marshes and forests of 9th century England, the Vikings become guerrillas, and guerrillas are hard to kill, even with 21st century technology. The strike group doesn't conquer England for the Saxons, but it breaks the Viking invasion badly enough that the Saxons, with a little luck and a lot of courage, might just finish the job themselves. Or what do you think?